officer and over 30. Hey, welcome folks to Pat Canone's Lend Me Your Ear. Today I have my special guest, Alan Stern. Alan is currently with Lexus, McGrath Lexus out in the western suburbs. But today he's going to be focusing on his theme, how to become your own one-man content marketing machine. And just a brief background. I met Alan ironically at a networking event about 6-7 months ago. And he and I struck a conversation, and we've been going back and forth via social media. And a few weeks back, we met up again at another marketing event. And then he had something at his dealership. And I thought, I'd love to have you as a guest. And Alan and I worked together so that he could be with us today. So welcome aboard, Alan.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, brother.
Thank you so
much. Fantastic. I am so excited about today. Alan brings a wealth of information. I've been actually seeing his content before I even met him, which again is the power of social media, folks. And if you haven't considered joining this wave, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. So Alan started as a DJ, didn't you, Alan?
I did. My business journey was well before I got in the automotive industry. Started actually when I was a teenager, and I had one goal in life, and that was to get paid for blasting music. So, you know what? I started out in the nightclubs and eventually just fell in love with house music.
Okay.
Bought a set of CD turntables one day from a pawn shop, and then everything just kind of got started from there. So as a teenager in business for myself, I had literally no resources.
Yeah.
Literally nothing. So I had to figure out how to get the word out for cheap, then got in the car business and, share with you a little bit about my story in a little bit.
Yeah, please. Yeah. So after the DJ gig, you transitioned into automotive sales. So how did that start out?
Well, I was working several part-time jobs in my late teenage years. And then I was reminded when I turned 21 years old that I needed to get a real job. Otherwise, I wouldn't be living at my parents' house.
Okay.
And
the ultimatum.
The ultimatum. And you know what, man? Shout out to my dad for actually being a parent and having the tough conversation. I truly believe the world would be a very different place if that happened more often. So begrudgingly, I get into the car business at 21 years old.
Yeah.
I figure, you know what? I've got some minor sales experience at this point in my life, and I grew up playing Gran Turismo, which is a racing video game.
Yeah. Actually, I know some of my kids played that as well.
So I figured, you know what? I got this, and it turned out I didn't have it, and I, really failed myself forward. And I'm very grateful for all of the data that I got to collect in the process. And actually used to work right up the road from here in Glenview. Started off at a Chevy dealership. Did about 6 years there, loved it, moved into the luxury world back in 2017.
Wonderful. Fantastic. So what led you to your current path? Like I said, even before you and I met physically, I saw your content online. And, I was amazed by what you were putting out there, and you were putting out things consistently, which is something that I've been trying to do as well. I think the key to success in social media and to putting out content is to be consistent. So what drove you into social media?
So basically, here's the way that I see it. At the end of the day, you know what, you can, when you're in sales, and this applies to all industries, doesn't matter if it's real estate, loan officer, car sales, whatever it is a commission-only salesperson, you have two options. Wait for the phone to ring, which you have no idea when that's going to happen.
Right.
And you're in the convincing business of trying to convince a stranger to part with tens of thousands of dollars in my case.
Yeah.
Or you can go out and make relationships and tap into the network of people who already know you, like you, and trust you. So I figured, you know what? I've already got these cool cars that I'm around all day. Why not snap pictures of them? Why not do live videos and just share with the world, hey, I have these. Now, on the other end, when you're in car sales and you work for a Chevy dealership, which let's be honest, there's a Chevy dealership every 5 miles on any major road, especially in this market. you're scrolling through your Facebook every now and then, and you see somebody post a picture of their brand new car they bought without calling you first. And eventually you get mad about it.
Yeah.
And then you say, how can I make sure that this doesn't happen?
Yeah.
And then I learned how to make memes of bad things that happen when you buy a car without calling me first.
There you go.
And that's how my, I'm not going to say marketing journey started, but that's when things really got serious with the entertainment.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Now, do you augment this strategy with any other strategies at the dealership? As far as, you've got your social media output out there. Do you have any other marketing strategies besides that?
For sure. So I'm of the belief that it doesn't matter what you're selling. People don't buy from brands, they buy from people that represent brands. And the relationships are everything.
Right.
I was reminded of that when I made the switch in 2017 from selling domestic economy cars in the North Shore here to now import luxury cars 22 miles away in the western suburbs. So about zero in common.
Right.
And I was reminded of the power of relationships my first month when I had several of my customers from my old dealership follow me, not because they wanted a Lexus, but because they enjoyed working with me and the trust was established.
Right.
So I figured, well, now, because I'm in a new location with a new product, everything about it's different. I'm going to rebuild this book of business on trust and relationships. So what I started doing is I started going to every Chamber of Commerce networking event that I could. And I figured, you know what? These are all people that are in the same boat as me. They're all doing stuff at the community level, and we're just trying to figure out how we're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
And from there, you know what? You start playing the long game. You don't know when the phone's going to ring, but when it does, you're not starting at step 1. You're starting at like step 5, 6, or 7, where somebody just comes to you and says, hey, Alan, you know what? I'm open-minded. Here's my situation. What do you got?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then that in itself is the power of social media, because now, even if Alan hadn't met that individual, we feel that we know each other. For instance, when I first met Alan in person, it was like I already knew Alan just based on his personality that he shared with us via social media. And that's the wonderful power of what we have before us. And anyone, whether it's sales or really any aspect of your career, if you're not utilizing some of these tools, you are at a loss in today's world. What Alan is doing today reminds me of a book that I read years and years ago by Joe Girard, famous automobile salesman, who he called it bird dogging. And what that was sending letters and things consistently to folks that he had sold cars to previously and to folks who had thought about buying cars from him. And by doing this on a regular basis, he was able to build his business. In a way, what Alan is doing here is building his business in a broader sense based on the new tools that we have available through social media.
What's Joe Girard book, by the way? Huge fan.
Yeah, his first book. The title escapes me right now, but it was the first book where he outlined his various success story on what he did to grow his business. And I used that to grow my lending business, because that's the beauty of what we do in sales. Anything and everything is transferable. It doesn't matter whether you're in automobile sales or real estate sales or are a loan officer like myself. Anything that you do to place yourself in front of folks and put yourself where an individual feels comfortable with you, it puts you in a position of strength.
100%. One of my coaches told me at a young age, sales is sales is sales. The only thing that changes is X, and X is the product.
Yep.
That's it. We all actually sell the same 3 things. I'm in the automotive industry. You're, in the mortgage industry, but we all sell trust, expertise, and an end result. Yeah, that's it. No need to overcomplicate it.
No. With that, Alan is so gracious. He's going to share a little bit of what he's done to become his own one person, one man content marketing machine, and how you too can take some of these tools to take your business to the next level. So, Alan, I'd like you to take it away. I'll interject here and there, though, of course, as we move forward.
Yeah, definitely. So, quick disclaimer. Here's actually how I started doing this and why I started doing this. So, what I love about going to networking events is you meet a lot of people at the community level that are all there by choice. A lot of them decided to work a corporate job for many years. And then finally they hit their breaking point and said, you know what? I can't do it anymore. I'm out. I've always had this entrepreneurial side of me, this business idea, and I think now is the time to start it. So what usually ends up happening is you get a lot of people that work this corporate job that take a huge financial pay cut, not only the first year, the second year, sometimes the third or fourth, and say, you know what? It's time to go and pursue this, and I have no idea how to make this happen. So basically what I've done with this presentation, how to become a one-man content machine, is the goal is to show you how to do all of your own marketing for social media. That way you don't have to pay somebody to do it for you. That being said, I want to make this very clear. If you are somebody who is using a marketing company right now, I am not telling you to fire them. Like, that is definitely not what this is about. I would actually say the opposite. Like, if you're working with one and they're just crushing it and they make you more money each month than you spend with them, spend all you can with them. It's like going up to an ATM, slipping $100 in, and more than $100 comes out. But what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to protect people. We are living in some messed up times right now. Like, if it wasn't already hard enough to run a business, now we have to deal with staffing shortages, the madness of current events, and we haven't even touched AI yet. So if you wouldn't mind, just switch to the next slide. If you were to go on Google and type in, what is the failure rate of small businesses? It's almost 50% within 5 years. It's a pretty scary number. That's straight off of the Bureau of Labor Statistics website, just in case anybody needs to look that up. So what is the main reason? Lack of cash flow. Yeah. Usually means one of two things. You can't make enough sales to keep the lights on, or if you're making sales, you can't run lean enough to hold a profit. And it's funny, I've been doing speaking engagements on how to make the phones ring using social media for a little over a year now. And I had this aha moment about 3 weeks ago, because to be real direct with you, I didn't really understand why I was doing it. It just felt right. And I was just sharing knowledge with the world and just leveling up the community. But the reason why I'm doing this is because it's my goal to cut this number in half. And the biggest thing is, when small businesses win, everybody wins.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to share with you a little bit about that later. And here's how I'm going to lower that number. Go ahead to the next slide. Everything that I go over is grouped into these three categories. And what's interesting is most people only have a skill set in one out of these three areas. This is literally everything that you need to know right here if you're somebody who wants to make the phones ring using social media. Now, sales. Your salespeople are your problem solvers, because people spend money to solve problems. It's the only reason why anybody spends any money. For example, I sell cars, which means the problem I solve is you don't want to walk to work. So you need a set of wheels, or you're sick and tired of taking public transit. So the idea here is salespeople spend all their time just focusing in getting good at improving their closing ratio. It's very important. However, the problem is eventually you run out of people to talk to. So now you need a marketer to present more opportunities. Now, marketers, on the other hand, have mastered the art of making the phones ring. That's the problem that they solve in the market. The problem becomes, in this day and age, mastering the skill of marketing usually involves learning some fancy tech. I'm talking about the people that know sales funnels, that know SEO, retargeting ads, email automation, drip campaigns, all these big words that a lot of times just kind of glaze over salespeople's head. Your marketers have mastered the art of creating opportunities using these. However, sales are not made at a deep, complex level. It's an emotional decision, and they're made at a 5th grade level. So the problem that most marketers have is sales. They're really smart, but a lot of times they're too smart for their own good, and they have a problem dumbing things down, which is why you don't usually find people that have a strong skill set in sales along with marketing. And if you do find somebody and you own a business, make sure you can keep them, because that's an extremely valuable asset. Now we bring in the third area, graphic designers. These are your artists of the world. I know that because before I was a salesperson and before I was forced to learn how to do marketing, I was an artist. I still am an artist, because DJs are a form of art.
Absolutely.
Now, the funny thing about artists is they're great at their craft. They're great at making things look pretty. But the problem is they work best when they're left alone. It's the same thing with automotive mechanics. They're great at their craft, but a lot of times the social skills and the sales ability is not the strongest. It doesn't make them bad people. It just means they're great at what they do, and they should usually stay in their lane. So now, when you have graphic designers that know how to make things look pretty things a lot of times don't sell. It helps get the eyeballs, but in the event that this looks pretty and it sells, you still need a marketer to get more eyeballs on it. So if you can overlap all three of those circles, you run laps around your competition. And the problem is with most small businesses, the lack of cash flow comes because they have to sub out all three of these areas.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, what's interesting is you don't really need to learn any fancy tech to do this. What I go over is 5 easy ways that somebody can dominate social media without spending a dime. And it's hilarious how simple this is, where sometimes we like to overcomplicate things. We just simply knock the simplicity of this because we say, it can't be that easy. Now, number 1 and number 2 are memes and GIFs. I always, at the beginning of every one of these presentations, a lot of times people say, I tried to learn graphic design and I don't know how to do it. And it's frustrating and it took me hours, and whatever line flies out of their mouth. The truth is, a meme is simply a picture with a caption. And what's interesting about that is that it's an extremely powerful way for you to convey a message. And all you're doing is finding a picture and throwing a caption over it. I'm going to give you a few examples of that in a little bit. But what's interesting is memes and GIFs are entertaining. People go on social media to be entertained. What's interesting is you as a business owner or us as a salesperson, we usually use social media to promote and sell our business. But what happens is if people are on these platforms to be entertained and you're there to sell, a little bit of a disconnect. But if you can show up in an entertaining way, now everything changes. What's cool about this is we've heard that old saying, we all do business with those who we know, like, and trust. Memes and GIFs are a great way to get people to know and like you, because if they're laughing, they're listening. Pat here, him and I, before we even met, he felt like he knew my personality because I'm a toddler. My sense of humor, it is what it is. That's how us salespeople go. So people know what they're getting into. Now, memes and GIFs have the potential to go viral, which means if you just knock it out of the park with the messaging, some people will share it. And at the end of the day, that's like somebody sharing your advertisement for free, which is amazing. Now, know, like, and trust, know and like come from the first 2. Trust comes from the last 3. Testimonial graphics is basically just taking words, literally just text only from Google or Yelp or any other review medium, and turning it into a cool graphic so more people can see it. And you can do that in like 2 minutes or less, and I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. Infographics and audiograms. These big words here, I just want you to think of them as education-based marketing. People spend money to solve problems. These are cool ways for you to let them know, hey, I can solve your problem and I know what I'm talking about. Because we've all dealt with somebody who's incompetent in the sales world and doesn't do business with integrity. This is a great way for you to show somebody, hey, I'm the guy that can help you out. Now, all 5 of these you can do and make for free. They check off different boxes, but they all have the same goal. And that is simply to start a conversation. You make one of these pieces of content, you post it in the world, and you want somebody to say, hey, can you tell me more? And that's how you generate leads out of thin air. If you don't mind, just go to the next slide real quick. Do yourself a favor. If you are watching this live, either screenshot this or just take a picture of it. Because everything that I go over how to do in these speaking engagements is done using these websites. Imageflip.com and Giphy are for memes and GIFs. They are free. There is a paid option if you would like to do some of the more advanced stuff, but they won't cost you anything. Canva is how you make those testimonial graphics, along with thousands of other things. It's probably the best all-in-one marketing platform I've ever seen.
Oh, it's changed my life. Canva is phenomenal, and that's what we utilize as well with a lot of the content that we put out there as well.
It's crazy how much stuff that you can do on it.
And it's honestly so user-friendly that it'll blow you away. If you haven't joined Canva, you're missing the boat.
It's literally like drag and drop. And I just really want to drive this point home. Marketing does not have to suck.
No.
The days of you carving out hours and hours of time to create content, it's gone. Now, all of a sudden, if you can make any one of these in like 2 minutes or less, marketing your business literally can be done over a glass of wine or pouring yourself a beer. That's how I learned how to do all of this stuff. The last one, Headliner, what this is it's for audiograms. Audiograms, it's a big word, but it's simply a picture with a voiceover. If you don't mind, just go to the next slide real quick. I want to give you an example of a meme. Most of us have seen this commercial. It is the Flex Tape demo. But what I'd like to ask you to do is just take a look at what's going on here. It's a very, very clear message that's being conveyed. Problem at the top, solution at the bottom. The problem that we see in this picture is there's a leaky tank. The solution that we see is flex tape. So we're already just leaning on the messaging that's in this picture, and we're throwing our own spin on it. And the message that is conveyed right here is, hey, if you get hit with an unexpected car repair, call me. That's it. 5th grade level. Now, let's say I wanted to repurpose this and have Pat use it. Hey, are you sick of renting and paying 100% interest? Call me. Boom.
Perfect.
That's it. High rate at the top. Congratulations, you're renting, bro. Paying 100% interest. How you feel now? I'm sorry, I had to do that. Anyways, all you're doing here is you're conveying a message. And the easiest place to start is by focusing in on problems, because I can't stress this enough. The only reason why we spend money is to solve problems. And people love to complain about problems,
right?
So they're relatable. So you would just insert at the top a problem that would cause somebody to reach out to you. Now, if you don't mind, go to the next slide. Gifts.
Ouch.
Ouch. That's how it feels when you buy a car without calling me first. See what I did there? Very clear messaging. All that we're doing is we're just leaning on this to do the talking. And we're just throwing a caption over it. Now, don't knock the simplicity of this. This is graphic design. Even if it means just putting generic text like this over a picture that loops around and they're highly engaging. And you would do this on an app or a website called Giphy. And if you weren't already aware, this app is probably on your phone. Like if you bought a phone within the past 7 years, probably on here. Now just go to the next one real quick. A testimonial graphic. All you're doing is taking words from Google and you're going and dropping it in a template like this. What I love about Canva, besides the fact that it's free, is you can just go there and search testimonial graphic. And there's about 15,000 of these that'll show up. So if you don't like this template, whatever. So you would just copy and paste a review from Google, or in my case, I always like to ask people to do a LinkedIn recommendation for 2 reasons. First off, because LinkedIn is a business platform, basically an online resume. Somebody goes there, they see what you're about, and then they see what people are saying about you who have already done business. What's nice about that is it forces somebody to be specific on the services that you have provided for them. Now, always remember this. Nobody can sell you better than a satisfied customer. That's your cheapest form of advertisement with the highest closing ratio. When somebody puts you on a 3-way text message that says, hey, I worked with Pat. He was great. He has my approval stamp. You're not starting at step 1. The rapport and the trust is already built. You're starting at like step 7. And always remember, when somebody refers you business, your number 1 job is to make that person look good. Yeah. Bird dogs are important, but you can't buy integrity and you can't buy business.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, I can offer somebody a fat bird dog, but if I made that person look like a schmendrick because they sent me somebody and I dropped the ball, nobody wins.
Yeah, you lose credibility. Absolutely.
Lose it 100%.
Yeah.
Just go to the next one real quick. An infographic. All this is saying, hey, I can help you. And the trick is with these is you want to make them specific. If you look at the picture on the right, it's very clear who I'm talking to. I'm basically saying, hey, are you leasing a car? Oh, you are? Awesome. Before you turn that in, call me. You might be leaving money on the table. Very short, simple, easy to read. And now I can repurpose this on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, email, wherever it is, I can display it. And remember, if you speak to your prospect's pain point better than they can articulate it, they're just going to assume that you're the solution. And that's what you're able to do here. Now, these are great, but there's a simple problem when it comes to infographics. And that is eventually you just run out of space. Like if I wanted to add any more text here, it just would look too cluttered and now it becomes counterproductive. That can be solved by doing a video. The problem is anytime I tell somebody to do a video, the excuse train comes along. Somebody says, oh, I don't like my hair today. By the way, my hair, it's thinning at an alarming rate, Pat.
Well,
high five. You got the same problem.
I'm follically challenged.
Right, exactly. My dad told me I used to have a face made for radio. True story, by the way. So anyways, there's a happy medium. If you're somebody who's like, all right, I want to get on video, I want to show my personality, but I just don't want to get on camera, I would invite you to try making an audiogram. Go to the next slide, please. An audiogram is simply a picture with a voiceover. I already went over how to make an infographic. But what you can do here is you can record yourself explaining something. In this case, what I did is I made this infographic say, want an unlimited mileage warranty on your car? Here's how you get one. And then I busted out my phone. I didn't have to have a fancy microphone like Pat here. What I did is I busted out my phone and said, hey, if you are somebody who is in real estate that drives 20,000+ miles a year and you want to get an unlimited mileage warranty, look into buying a certified pre-owned Lexus. You have an unlimited mileage warranty for a minimum of 2 years plus any remaining time on the factory warranty. So now in a short, simple, easy to digest format, I've explained how to do that. And because there's a little graphic on there that shows that there's sound, it's now engaging and it gets people to stop the scroll. Go to the last one real quick. Now, just for being here today, I have a gift for you. I'm not trying to sell you anything. If you're interested in what I'm talking about and you're just like, hey, I want to try and do some of this myself, just scan this QR code. It'll route you to a landing page. It'll ask you for your name and email, and I'll just send over like some of my favorite meme templates, testimonial graphics, infographics, and all of that stuff. So other than that, that basically concludes my slides.
Thank you so much, Alan. You provided our audience with a wealth of information, and I really appreciate it. Now, beyond this type of activity that you do online, do you also try to engage the public when you've friended them either on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram?
100%. Like it's actually an ongoing joke. I have a disclaimer.
Yeah.
If we meet at a networking event and you give me your card, you will be added on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram immediately afterwards. You will probably also get a thank you email saying, hey, it was great meeting you.
Yeah.
Enjoyed our conversation. Few things happen here. For starters, there's people that just don't go on Facebook, but they go on Instagram. There's people who say, the hell with Instagram and Facebook, I'm only on LinkedIn.
Right.
So I'm gonna add you on all three. Some people may say, whoa, what's up with this guy? He's coming on a little bit too strong. The reality is, hey, we're all in the relationship business, and that's probably why you were at a networking event.
Right.
As far as the engagements, I mean, here's the other thing. What I love is you are a big networker. I'm a big networker. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good we work the room, what our skill level is, we're limited on time.
Right.
If we're lucky, we might be able to meet 10, really lucky, 15 new people in one event and have quality conversations. Or we can go and do a podcast like this or a speaking engagement and get in front of hundreds.
Right.
So for those of you who are like on the fence on social media, I just want to remind you, it's a tool.
Yeah.
That's it. Take the emotion out of it. It is simply a tool in the fact that you are either using it or it is using you. And if you don't know how it's using you, you're going to want to ask yourself, why is it that Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn are all billion-dollar companies, yet they're free platforms? How's that happen?
Yeah.
It happens because they use your data and they sell it to advertisers, and that's why they're the most targeted ads on the planet. But what I'd like to do is show you how you can use it as a tool to meet your customer where they're at. And here's where they're at.
Yes. And that's where they're at even when they're watching television.
For sure.
When they're watching a football game or a baseball game or a hockey game, they're there. You go to a sporting event, they're there. So we would be foolish if we are not there as well. Mike, can you put up that QR code again for Alan?
I'll give you a real vivid example of this. Real good experiment. So next time you specifically go to Chipotle, take a look at how robotic everybody looks in line. They're all doing the same thing. They're all staring down at their phone. There's a line out the door. Nobody's talking to each other, and everybody's glued to their phone. Scary sight, by the way. But that's where everybody's at.
Right.
Because we go on these platforms to be entertained.
Yeah. Yeah. No, to your point, it is a scary point that you've just raised, because I see it all the time as well. And it's out, from time to time I go downtown into the city, and it's the same thing. You see people not engaged with the world, but engaged only solely with their device right in front of them. We've put the graphic back up. I highly encourage you to scan this QR code and take advantage of what Alan has to offer. Alan, beside this, how can someone get a hold of you if they wanted to just reach out to you directly?
There's Facebook. Alan Stern, ALAN, STERN. Add me on LinkedIn. Add me on MySpace too.
There you go.
By the way, 100% of the time I say that joke, I always at least get a laugh. Instagram, same thing. All major social media platforms, you can find me. Just want to leave you with this. When small businesses win, everybody wins. The reason why I'm doing this is because it comes from a place of love. I know what it's like to go to a networking event and just ask yourself, how the hell am I going to make it happen? I need to meet people. I need to get the word out, yet there's limited time, like all of this stuff. But the important thing is to know that if you are in a commission-only sales role, you have a gift. You have the ability to create an economy. You have the ability to write your own paycheck because you have the ability to simply pick up the phone and ask somebody for some cash in exchange for whatever problem that you solve. It's the only reason why we spend money is to solve problems. And all we're doing with money is trading it for something else. Give me an example. Let's say that I meet somebody at a networking event and I help them crush it with the digital marketing. Now, all of a sudden, they've moved the needle financially in their business. If they got pets, I believe those pets are eating better food. If they got kids, those kids are going out to Disney World or they're going out somewhere else. They're going on a nicer vacation. Bottom line is there's more family time. What else happens is, let's say that they really start crushing it. They're going to call me for a new car.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Once they get that new car, maybe they expand their family. They call him for a new house. They call him for, I don't know if you do commercial, they might call him for an office building or a loan on an office building or something like that. Restaurants are seeing it right away.
Right.
And at the end of the day, that's how you make the world a better place. When small businesses win, everybody wins.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, to your point, you call me to get a mortgage that leads you to purchasing a new home, which leads you to doing possibly renovations on your home and buying new furniture. And so many things revolve on what we do as proponents of building small businesses. So, Alan, I can't thank you enough for joining me here this morning. And we're going to be sharing this content with the world so that more and more folks can learn how to become your own one-man content machine. Thank you, Alan. I really appreciate you joining me. Folks, friend Alan on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and or review the link to the QR code and get that information. You will thank yourself for doing so.
One last thing. If you're interested in just having a conversation regarding marketing, go to onemancontentmachine.com. You get a brief overview of my keynote, what I'm all about, what people are saying. Again, my goal is to help you level up your marketing and run lean, because at the end of the day, the fact that 50% of businesses fail within 5 years, scary stuff.
Yeah.
90% of small businesses also fail over a 10-year period. It's crazy when you think the majority of the world works for a small business. So if I can do something about that, that's what I'm all about.
Okay. Thank you again, Alan. Appreciate it.
Man.
Take care. Thank you, folks, for joining me. Again, this is Pat Cannone with Lend Me Your Ear. Thanks again to Alan Stern for joining us on this week's episode of the podcast. This will be available on, also, if you wanted to hear the audio version, on Spotify, Amazon, as well as some other streaming services. Thanks again, folks, and see you on the radio, as I say.